Greetings, YouTube. Just a quick rant, uh, focus rant, if I can, on a quick RPG subject here. For those of you familiar with the Song of Fire and Ice, or those of you not familiar with the Song of Fire and Ice RPG, those of you familiar with the Game of Thrones series. No, actually, specifically, those of you familiar with the Song of Fire and Ice RPG, or the Song of Fire and Ice, whatever the other version was. I know there's one by Green Ronin, and there's another one by an earlier series. And those of you that are familiar with the RPG, now, if you, in the series, in the setting for the game, which is usually starts approximately 1 year before the actions taking place in the book series, or in the series, depending how you look at it, and depending upon what your introduction into the series is. If you had the ability, as you know, if you do play the RPG, the tabletop pen and paper, you essentially play a noble house, not necessarily one of the great houses, but a great house. Well, not one of the great houses, but a noble house in Westeros. And my question today is one I just posed for the RPG Brigade on Facebook. Was, if you had the ability to prevent the death of Robb Stark at the Red Wedding. Spoiler alert for those of you who haven't got to Season 3 of Game of Thrones. Too late. But if you had the ability to prevent the death of Robb Stark at the Red Wedding, at the cost of, or at least the risk of, the annihilation of your house, would you? Were you willing to put that much, emphasis on the importance of that particular character in the setting, that you would be willing to see your house fall in order to save him? This is kind of related to the campaign that I'm currently running. From what I've seen of most of the other campaigns that are running right now, from a few of the other RPG Brigade experiences, a lot of people seem to think that, or at least seem to be setting their campaigns in or around this same time frame, the modern time frame, setting their houses in the Westerland, not in the Westerlands, but the Riverlands, as either bannermen of the Tullys or the Freys. My current campaign actually has my group set as bannermen of the Freys, and I began the campaign setting approximately 15 years prior to the beginning of the series, which sets them at the time of Robert's rebellions. I thought it would be cool to have them actually be able to be there at the time of the battle of the Red Forks. That's not it. The Trident, the Battle of the Trident, where Robert felled Rhaegar Targaryen, and gave them the opportunity. For my characters, I did a little bit of setup in that I basically said they were from an ancient house, a house that goes back to the Age of Heroes, and they chose, at least their sire chose, to side with the Targaryens during the battle, during the War of the Usurper, Robert, and they decided, as bannermen of the Freys, they decided to go against their great house and side with the Targaryens, as they felt that their allegiance was actually with the true king. And they supported Rhaegar at the Battle of the Trident. Now, of course, at the battle, they witnessed the events unfold as they did, where Rhaegar was felled by Robert Baratheon, and from that point on, basically it was sort of in video game scenes, it was sort of a cutscene where the characters saw a lot of things take place, and they had a few choices up to the events, where they were interacting with their sire and then preparing for battle. But for the most part, this was just a setup for me to put them into this particular part of the game, where suddenly, okay, they had taken the wrong side on this battle, and they were now put in a position where they had to deal with the fallout of having been defeated. And this also let me set up one of two things. I had intended to have this campaign split into two parts, taking them either into sort of a advanced 15-year synopsis of what occurred from the Battle of the Trident and Robert's Rebellion to the current day, or have the characters who were at that time given the choice to take the black and to run a Night's Watch campaign that also spanned that same amount of time. What this actually wound up allowing me to do was run two contiguous campaigns where I had some of the characters from the initial campaign be the ones who took the black, and other ones be the ones that were left behind after the battle, who sort of had to take care of the household after the senior members of the party, who was sort of the heir to the household, and a few of his major retinues followed with him to the north. Then it was very much the junior declaration, and led by the sort of an aging, doddering actual head of the household, which is to say the the lord of this family. He was able to avoid being taken to black or having the worst come to him by his heir taking on the responsibility for what happened at the battle and being the ones who took the black and were sent north. So now we have, as we progress through to the following 15 years, basically the grandfather of the family and the youngest generation, as they become 15 to 20 years old, becoming the main characters in the story. And it's kind of cool to actually have the ability to run both character class, or both sets of this story at the same time, and allow them to take important roles throughout the history of Westeros, both at the Wall and in the southern regions at the same time. But that's the setup for my campaign. My question is, if you're those of you who are playing this campaign, those who haven't, should really check it out. It's amazing. It's amazing system, amazing campaign setting that Green Ronin has put out based on the books of George R. R. Martin, which is called A Song of Ice and Fire. And the question I have is, those of you who are playing or those of you who are interested, go ahead and go out there and please do invest in these books. It's worth your time and money. If your house, your great house, which is a major part of character creation and a major part of the game, would you be willing to put that to the threat of extinction, as occurs at times, when these houses come into conflict, would you be willing to put your entire house at conflict with the Lannisters, with the Greater Kingdom of Westeros, in order to save, as we see later in the series, the life of Robb Stark? This is something I'm actually going to pose to my characters shortly in my personal campaign setting, and I will update on how this turns out. Again, thank you for listening and subscribing. Sure. Game of Thrones fans, be sure to drop a note or two. And those of you who are interested, I do urge you to check this out. So, thank you, good day, good gaming.